Hello and welcome to Volumes of Pyramids and Cones, and in this section we are going to talk about the volumes of them and how we calculate them. Now the volume of a cone and a pyramid is basically 1/3 the volume of its cylinder or a prism, and so it will depend on the shape of the base if we're talking about a pyramid, and so that's why the area of the base is in here times the height, and the height of the pyramid will be from the center of the base all the way up to the top at a 90-degree angle. So that's the h. It's not the slant height that we're using. We're using the height from center of the base to the point that we are talking about for height. And sometimes we'll have to use Pythagorean theorem depending on whether they give us the slant height and the radius or the apothem and all kinds of different things. So it might be kind of tricky for that one. And then the volume of a cone is kind of a nice little formula because we know what the area of the base is because the base is always a circle for a cone. And so the volume of a cone is going to be 1/3 pi r squared, because that's the area of the circle, times the height of the cone, which is again the distance from the center of the base to the point. And so that's what we're talking about. Here's our radius down here, and so that would give us the formula that we need for the volume of a cone. So then I've got two examples for volumes of cones. First one I have here is I have this cone that is upright and it looks like this more or less, and I have a radius of 3 and a height of 10, a slant height of 10. So the trick to this guy is that I'm going to have to find the height of the cone in order to find the volume of this cone. Well, I know my volume formula is 1/3 pi r squared h. I know that. And so the key is, how am I going to find h? Well, if you'll notice, remember that I just said that the height and the base meet at a 90-degree angle. So then I could make a right triangle out of the height, the radius, and the slant height, and there's a little right triangle in there. And that being said, with that right triangle we can use Pythagorean theorem to find h. So that would mean that 3 squared plus h squared will equal 100, or will equal 10 squared, which is 100. But I'll get to that in a second. So there's 10 squared. And so then I get 9 plus h squared equals 100 when I multiply this out. Subtracting 9 across the equal sign, I get 91. And then taking the square root of both sides to solve this problem, h is the square root of 91. Now, for this, I'm going to leave the square root of 91 as my answer for that, because it's going to be a decimal and I don't want to really have to mess with it much. And so I'm going to get some kind of decimal that I will get, and so I'm not going to leave this answer in terms of pi when I write this out. I'm just going to multiply it all out. So now I have enough information. I have my height, I have my radius, which were the two pieces of information that I needed for my volume formula. So I can go ahead and plug these in, and the volume is 1/3 times pi times the radius squared times h, which is the square root of 91. And so after punching this in on my calculator, that's supposed to be a square. After punching this in on my calculator, I believe that you would get something like 89.86 inches cubed will be the volume of this cone. Now over here they gave us a little bit different information that we are going to, we have an upside down cone, but this time they gave us the height to be 12 and the radius is 7. So we've got enough information. We've got the radius, we've got the height, and therefore we can go ahead and find the volume of this. And so the volume is 1/3 times pi times the radius squared times 12, which would give us the volume of this cone. And I can leave this in terms of pi if I want, and that would be something like 196, because I'm not getting a decimal when I multiply the 1/3 times the 7 squared times the 12. I'm not getting that. I get 196 pi, and this would be centimeters cubed. Now if I multiply the 196 times 3.14, I'll get a volume of 615.44 centimeters cubed approximately, and so it'll just depend. And so in this case, these are our two volumes, and we will practice more of this in class, so please come prepared to ask questions about them. Thank you.